I never want to beat a dead horse or even feed a fed horse. I've heard too much about Tom Wilson, too. I've also heard remarkably different opinions on the same play that we have all seen, I don't know, like 120 times, and yet still see very differently. I also wonder how in the good name of Adam Graves we got here. Did we all get caught up in the moment, or do a lot of us get caught up in way more moments these days considering what we're all going through? It's worth saying, not everything is black and white. 50 Shades of Grey isn't just some erotic romance novel that touched so near and dear. Shades of Grey is an expression that we all seem to have lost in 2021. Not everything has to spark outrage. Sometimes, yes, without a doubt, rain holy hell down on racism, closing playgrounds only to open them up one day later, a lack of vaccines available. I get all that. But outrage? Hockey suspensions? Full caveat for those looking for a fight. I thought Tom Wilson crossed the line. I thought he deserved a common sense suspension that would at very least avoid whatever it is we are going to end up with tonight at Madison Square Garden. I also believed this is a nuanced conversation that can have more than one right answer. And yet, as we left the air yesterday, it was all screaming and yelling about who knew what others didn't know. I know this because I did this. That guy's an idiot. This guy's an idiot. And I'm not just talking about Twitter. The New York Rangers, whose players and coaches, I thought, in the heat of the moment, in the actual fire, articulated themselves pretty well. But the franchise, the team itself, released a statement the likes of which I have rarely seen in my time in sports. It was outrage in the age of outrage, and it was also kind of sort of ridiculous. The unsigned letter on Rangers' letterhead called for a man's job in George Parros. Now keep in mind, this is a man whose ruling I also disagreed with, but the Rangers called for his job even though he's the head of the Department of Player Safety, and the department comes together on decisions like this. So in actuality, they called out the entire department. But even then, I'm okay with that. That could be perceived as standing up for their guys. I don't mind that. No, what stuck out to me most was the first sentence of the statement. The New York Rangers are extremely disappointed that Capitals forward Tom Wilson was not suspended for his horrifying act of violence last night at Madison Square Garden. His horrifying act of violence last night at Madison Square Garden. What's unacceptable violence in a violent game? What's a horrifying act of violence? Who wrote this? John Davidson, the president of the Rangers, a lifetime in the game of hockey. Sorry, what's that? Ty Domi played at Madison Square Garden, you say?
Probert and Domi, look out, baby. And this guy is a character. He's an entertainer. And look at him swinging at Probert. Got the left going. Probert dinged him with a right. Boom! Look out. Did he ever ding Probert with a left there? Oh, my God. That's incredible. Oh, holy mackerel. Look at him. He's doing his thing at center ice.
Yeah. But that was a generation ago. A different time. Before we all learned. Sorry, what's that? March 19th, 2012. MSG, start of Rangers and Devils. What? Huh? Sorry?
We're going to have action right off the start. Here we go. We got three going at one time. Bolton and Rupp, Carter and Bickle, Jansen and Prust. There is just no love between these two teams at all.
Boy, a crowd was going crazy at MSG for those horrifying acts of violence. Oh, that's willing combatants going toe-to-toe. Besides, we've moved on from that kind of nonsense, too. I mean, that's almost 10 years ago. The game has evolved. Stuff like that doesn't happen at the world's greatest arena. Okay, I'm being stopped again. Bruins, Rangers this February. MSG, go ahead.
Zaboral got knocked down a penalty on Trouba. Trouba gets challenged by McAvoy. Oh, boy.
Lemieux will fight here with Frederick. Frederick's a tough kid, but so is Lemieux. Neither of them want to go down.
But Frederick wants round 2.
Lemieux started it all with a hit from behind. Horrifying acts of violence. Something told me it wasn't Davidson or head coach David Quinn or Jeff Gorton, the GM, that said that. Something told me yesterday on this show that came from the top. And something tells me using that kind of language is ridiculous. Then, today, reports surfaced that those two men, Gorton and Davidson, were scurrying to distance themselves from the statement made under the team's letterhead. And boom, not long after, the Rangers fired Davidson and Gorton. Don't need to tell me where that statement came from anymore. I know exactly where it came from. Look, the Rangers are missing the playoffs. You could make an argument for this move eventually, but we're not stupid. That statement was kind of silly. The hockey people knew it was kind of silly and got fired the next day for not towing the line. Exactly the type of knee-jerk reaction that have cost the Rangers and the Knicks, what, a couple of decades? All I'm saying is that the conversation should be that, a conversation. And for hockey and hockey people and the sport, it should be a continuation of the journey where we or they want the game to go. That's what's most important here. Not picking sides and calling stuff we've seen 100 times before horrifying acts of violence because we feel like Twitter's got our back. I grew up with John Wooden and his quotes. One of them, whatever you do in life, surround yourself with smart people who will argue with you. That respectful conversation will get us further than screaming for jobs and adding hyperbole to drive home a point that had already been made by many. But maybe that's passé. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe that's not 2021, even though it probably should be.